Dave Walker, President and CEO of the Peter G. Peterson Foundation and former Comptroller General of the United States. There are a number of common denominators between the factors that led to the current mortgage-based subprime crisis and the federal government's own deteriorating financial condition. First, a disconnect between the players who benefit from current policies and practices and those who will bear the risk and pay the price if things hit the fan. Secondly, a lack of transparency about the nature and extent and magnitude of the real risk. Thirdly, too much leverage, too much debt. And fourthly, a failure of both private sector and government risk management mechanisms, in the case of the mortgage-related subprime, a failure of those to act despite clear and compelling warning signals going off in order to prevent a crisis. What we saw in the case of the mortgage-based subprime is lagardship, not leadership. That's a new word. What lagardship is, it's a failure of leadership, and it's waiting until there's a crisis at your doorstep to act, and then acting precipitously in the face of such a crisis. What we need is leadership, both in the public sector and the private sector. And what that leadership means, it means looking ahead, seeing key trends, identifying challenges and opportunities, taking affirmative steps to be able to capitalize on those opportunities, to meet those challenges, and to avoid crisis. That's what we need. More leadership, less lagardship. A, focus on getting the economy turned around and restoring confidence in the short term. And B, putting processes in place like a fiscal future commission or something along those lines that will be able to do work for about a year and then make recommendations to the new president and the new Congress to get our own federal financial house in order so we can avoid a super subprime crisis that we don't ever want to see. There's no question that after we turn the economy around, we need to have some type of statutory budget controls in place in order to restore the type of discipline that existed in the 1990s and early in this millennium that helped us go from large and growing deficits to large and growing surpluses. We need things like pay-as-you-go rules. We need things like caps on discretionary spending. We need things like to understand what the long-term cost beyond 10 years of tax cuts and spending increases are. But we also need to do things that we didn't have back in the 1990s and early in this decade. We need to be able to force elected officials to be able to disclose the long-term cost, the discounted present value dollar cost of major spending and tax proposals before they're enacted into law. We need to be able to have reconsideration triggers for major mandatory spending programs and major tax preferences, deductions, exemptions, credits, exclusions, so that we reconsider those and that we don't allow them to continue to grow on autopilot. Believe it or not, the federal government's budget for fiscal 2007, 62% was on autopilot and growing every year. And of the 38% that wasn't on autopilot, believe it or not, every express and enumerated responsibility envisioned by the Founding Fathers for the federal government was in that 38%. In my view, we need to streamline and simplify the tax code because even people who want to comply would have a difficult time complying and knowing that they've complied, as complex as it is. We need to be able to eliminate a lot of the special exclusions, deductions, exemptions, the special interest provisions, to be able to broaden the base that's subject to taxation so we can keep rates low, so we can try to end up encouraging the economy to grow, all right? So we're going to need a broader base, flatter but not flat income tax, and we're probably over time going to have to supplement that with some type of a consumption tax, probably geared towards health care, because we're not going to be able to deal with the basic and essential needs of health care under our current revenue structure, although any health care reform should be designed to meet those 4 pillars, or at least further progress on those 4 pillars, and to save money as compared to current law.